Built within the heliocentric deception is the systematic program to separate humanity from nature. Knowing that the system is designed and based upon power, control, and dominance over the masses, by separating the masses from nature, you have in the same moment removed the fuel cell of any kind of threat to the power grid that comes with the illusions of a heliocentric deception. By uprooting the natural understandings, understandings, and overstandings of the balances of nature and installing a synthetic program, you have in a sense created a synthetic universe where every kind of relationship that the consciousness of the people has with those math programs, that science, and the coding of that reality will be based upon a synthetic fuel cell. It'll be based upon a synthetic filter, and all of the energy that people think that they are channeling into something that is beneficial for nature, that is beneficial for humanity, is instead channeled into the synthetic program and the synthetic programmers who created the illusions to begin with. By creating the idea of the Big Bang, the system has created a mentality, a psychology that is based upon nothingness. From nothingness came everything that we experience from a materialistic perspective that has no meaning and purpose. So any kind of meaning and purpose that you claim to have is instantaneously filtered through the system that has given you the materialistic perspectives and objects that you hold dear to you and claim as value in this reality. By stripping away the meaning and purpose of the mass consciousness, you have, in a sense, stifled any possibility of revolt or power to revolt against the illusions and the deceptions that have been promoted and expanded upon over many generations. The design of the university system is to compartmentalize all of these perspectives of the universe and the human experience overall, so much so, and keep people in those sections of reality that the larger pictures never get pieced together. The larger pictures of the illusion and the deception never get pieced together because you have individuals who are locked in to their particular mindset that is strictly from, an example, a psychological perspective, a philosophical perspective, a mechanical engineer perspective, an astrophysics perspective. These are all separate based upon the degrees, based upon our jobs, based upon what we have chosen, based upon what the system has allowed us to observe and expand upon within the deception of this entire illusion. The complexities of this illusion allow for the system to never be revealed for its true intention, because there is nothing to point out as the actual problem, because the system itself is so spread out, not over just the university system example, but it has been spread out for many generations upon generations, where people have layers and layers of belief systems built upon those systems over time. So when you challenge the systems and you present that to people, since people are so vested in the systems, you are actually challenging their belief system of their entire reality. So this is where you have slaves in a slave mentality defending the systems and the beliefs of the slave master. The heliocentric model is based largely upon belief systems no different than a mainstream religion tells you to believe in a particular deity. Instead of believing in a multitude of deities or one deity, the scientism religion as of today has the masses believing in theories based upon illusions that are based upon a synthetic universe that will never come to any conclusions. The more the system adds to and builds upon the illusions within the synthetic universe, it allows the power grid to expand based upon whatever the illusion is, are choosing to channel as their focus, as their reality. Building upon the synthetic illusions, more illusions allows the next generations to believe into the original deception from their perspective. This is why you can have telephones and technology being released at particular times, knowing that the system has this technology already, but it's released for a profit. By withholding the information from the people, you are withholding the possibility for a revolt. You are withholding the information that will empower people to break down the foundations of illusion and break out of this synthetic universal deception that gets channeled into the fiat currency system. So before money becomes power, the information that gives money its power is the ultimate power. By developing a society that is completely focused on money for its survival, the masses of people are instantaneously locked away from their true power, which is the information that allows the people to reconnect with nature, reconnect with the natural understandings, understandings, and overstandings of the true universe outside of the synthetic power grid. The moon landing deception was more about maintaining power through information, power through achievement, power through distraction, and the separation of power from the people, which was heavily revolting at that time frame, which resulted in the Civil Rights Act and so on and so forth, to distract from that power. And one of the main phrases that was being quoted by the people back then was power to the people. When the system, the so-called powers that be system, lands itself on the moon, there is no power of the people. The power goes back to the system. This was the intent of the moon landing. This is the intent of technology as it's sold and created as this dependent program among the masses today. And this is the same intent that the heliocentric universe has on the masses that was installed 500 plus years ago. These intentions create a codependent mechanism that stifles the expansion of consciousness at the same time that it's stifling the revolt consciousness against this system when they become aware of this, because the system itself represents the growth of humanity. This is why ancient technologies cannot be linked to the indigenous and the aboriginal people who were genocided and massacred to set the foundation for Western civilization as it exists today. This is why the ancient people's relationships to this reality are considered primitive and savage to hold up the theory, which is sold as a reality, that today's human, today's society, today's civilization is the evolutionary peak of human consciousness. In order to maintain that perspective, that power, simultaneously, the ancient ways and the ancient people have to be demonized and considered destroyed and considered primitive and savage from various perspectives. This is why you have to have the separation between third world and first world countries. Never looking into the reality that all of the third world countries are largely third world countries at the hand of the first world colonization. By continuously ignoring and not acknowledging the foundations that have led up to the power grid of today, the system can continue to expand itself without being held accountable for what has led up to today and continues to expand itself based upon war and destruction. This war and destruction mentality is largely an extension of the out of balanced patriarchal program that exists at the expense of the matriarchal, or the balances of nature, the masculine and the feminine. So in order to maintain gods and kings from a patriarchal perspective, you have to maintain the demonization of that balance, which is the matriarchal program. This is why largely the indigenous and the aboriginal people are genocided and massacred and destroyed, not so much only to take their land and maintain power and control over the masses, but also to subconsciously destroy our relationship with our balances of nature, which is the matriarchal interpretations of reality that are at the foundation of the indigenous, the aboriginal, and the ancient peoples. The various programs that exist that are designed to keep the people separated and distracted are also expanded upon as the generations continue to expand their consciousness. This is why technology has a growth factor. This is why education has pretty much a stagnant growth factor, because it's based upon limiting. It's not based upon expanding the consciousness or truly educating people. It's more about conformity and conditioning the masses to remain locked in to the program that is presented by the illusionists. If you have distracted, uneducated, and powerless masses of people, you will never have a chance of any kind of revolt. You will never have a chance of these programs being revealed. This is why it's so crucial for the compartmentalization of this entire civilization to be distracted from and not referenced or acknowledged by the system itself. As long as the evolutionary peak of humanity continues to not acknowledge or reference the information that empowers the people, the slaves within that system will remain complacent and in the darkness of their true connections and relationships with their meaning and purpose in this reality overall. This is the intention of developing a psychological universe that is based upon destruction, the Big Bang, that is based upon accident, chaos, lack of meaning, lack of purpose. By locking the people into a universe that has no meaning and no purpose, you have now set yourself up to be the God and King of that universe, which is empowered to give the people their meaning and purpose, which is the true power, which is the information, which is the energy that maintains dominance over the people as a whole. In order to maintain that dominance, power, and control over the masses, the so-called powers that be system could easily co-opt something like the Flat Earth movement and sell it back to the people from a so-called scientific perspective. And as long as the people are not privy to the depths of the information that leads up to the power grid as a whole, then the people will be subjected to whatever kind of illusions that are going to be presented in the future by the so-called powers that be system that is only designed to maintain control over the masses. By acknowledging and expanding upon the human story, we are in that same moment adding to the disassembly of this synthetic illusion and simultaneously empowering our relationship with nature, our relationships with each other, and our relationship with the natural universe that the synthetic universe was designed to separate us from. Once we reveal the intention of not only the heliocentric deception, but the deception of separating humanity from its natural balances, that's when we start to create a space of empowerment that cannot be co-opted by a system that maintains its power by holding back the information that empowers the people.